Shane here with Northwest Dart Tuners. We're here with Matt Palmer. He's a designer for Nike, and he's going to tell us about the trail running shoes that he has designed.
Thanks for having me, Shane. I'm just going to talk through the spring 21 offerings of the Kiger and the Wildhorse 7 that Nike's released this year. The Kiger is the biggest newness. I don't have the best lighting in here, so I apologize for the images. But so this shoe is new top to bottom, new upper, new midsole, new outsole. Update kind of carrying over a lot of things that we thought worked from the Kiger 5.6 while also bringing some newness, especially in the underfoot's experience. So starting with that, we have an all react midsole from forefoot to heel. And the big addition to this is, you can't see it, but there's a big Zoom Air unit in the forefoot. It's pretty much a big oval shape. Kind of the whole forefoot is all a layer of Zoom Air right against the foot on the top side of the midsole. So that offers a lot of both propulsion and also protection and cushioning underneath the foot. So kind of takes the place of what a rock plate does while being pretty protective, but still having a good response and bounce as you step off, as the Kiger's meant to be our faster, more responsive, more agile of our trail offerings. An interesting thing about that Zoom airbag, because I have one of them here somewhere. In theory, we should have this out already.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about that Zoom airbag that you have right there. That's interesting. So I didn't realize it would replace a rock plate. So that's going to make the shoe a lot lighter then, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so like it's basically that size of the forefoot. An interesting thing about this compared to most of our Zoom bags is because this one's so big, if we didn't have all these little flex screws kind of welded into it that allow it to flex, to be really stiff and boardy. But since we added these in there, it helps with both like toe off transition and flexibility, but also like because it goes side to side, has a pretty smooth rollover in the forefoot. So you get all the benefits of that protection and cushioning and propulsion without like it making it too boardy and stiff, which would be a detriment and a concern. So overall, like seeing what like worked and what didn't work with the Kiger 5 and 6. People liked how thin and lightweight and how much ground feel they had, but over time, the thin foam in the forefoot tend to pack out a little bit, and like they'd start to feel too many rocks, would like just hurt their feet too much. So we kind of looked at how can we still have a lightweight, fast feel in the forefoot, but offer more protection and something that won't pack out. Like foams will pack out over time, just any foams out there. That's how they work. But like a Zoom airbag, because it's just always full of air, will always have the same feel. Like the air doesn't go anywhere, so it's always in there. So from day one to day whatever, mile 1 to mile 500 or whatever, the airbag's going to be the exact same. So it's a good way to like maintain that same feel all the way through the life of the shoe.
Awesome. So what do you think the shelf life of the shoe is on just like normal dirt trails?
I don't know. It's hard to to quantify that. Like I'd say it's probably going to be a lot longer than what it was in the Kiger 5 and 6, probably an extra 100 miles or so. So maybe like 300, 400, 500, depending how tough you are on shoes, basically. Right. But I don't think the cushioning will be the concern, because at least in the forefoot, maybe the heel, like your heel striker, you might feel that pack out a little bit more because it doesn't have that airbag in the back. But I think in the forefoot, it'll last as long as the outsole or the upper does, for sure.
Great.
Yeah. Then additionally, underfoot, also can't see this very well, but
I can see it. It's good.
Yeah, so compared to the Kiger 5.6, which was really good on like non-technical, pretty dry, buffed out trails, had a lot of like surface areas that didn't feel too luggy, got enough ground penetration to get good traction. We wanted something that was going to be better for muddy conditions as well, or like more technical. So we looked at kind of the Wildhorse 6 came out last year, and that took a different approach of having more larger spaced out lugs, and that seemed to work really well in those muddier conditions. So it kind of took some of the learnings about spacing and just overall lug size and height, and kind of translated that into a more still a pretty streamlined and minimal approach, not being like too luggy, but more like just a kind of scaled up lug, like waffle approach to the Kiger, something that's still going to be very directional for like fast forward motion, but a little more spacing so that won't clog up with mud and also get more penetration into those softer surfaces to get better traction. So that's kind of the approach here, and just a little bit more protection in the kind of rear of the midfoot where we had more exposed foam there before. This will help kind of keep that area in the airbag protected.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then in the heel, we do actually have, you can't see it in this because it's the same color, but through those holes and other colorways, you can see that there's a rock plate there. So that does offer some of that protection that you get in the forefoot also in the heel, and a more like minimal execution there.
So overall, yeah, it's good. Anyway, go ahead.
And so overall, just because of the airbag in the forefoot and you being a little bit thicker than just like an all foam midsole, the Kiger 7 is a little bit taller than the Kiger 5.6. It's 2 millimeters taller, both the forefoot and the heel and the stack height. So it ends up being a little bit more shoe if compared to like the Kiger being our most minimal offering. This is edging more towards that like kind of mid average stack height, but it's still relatively low and lightweight. So still want to keep it on that side of things. Then additionally, the upper, we used a very basically the same material that we used in the Kiger 6 because it worked so well, both for durability, lockdown, breathability, drainability, kind of checked all the boxes there. The main goal with how we approached the mesh in this Kiger 7 was to extend it further back into the heel, whereas the Kiger 5 and 6 has a break to a woven material around here. So the heel is more structural and closed up in the Kiger 5 and 6, but we wanted to extend the mesh holes further back to try and get a little bit more lightweight, breathability, drainability feel, and also just in practice to get more water out in that area, and then have that kind of that woven foxing in the medial side for a little bit more structure as you pronate, and just heel support, and also just durability as you may end up like kicking this area of your shoe with your other foot as you go through. Yeah, and then same tongue and lacing system as the Kiger 5.6. We found that gets really good midfoot lockdown with the dynamic fit system, the internal fit band that's in there that connected to these 3 eye stays. Gives really good lockdown to the midfoot to hold your foot in place. Have a relatively wider last compared to our road running shoes and our trail shoes. So have a little bit more room for toe splay and just swelling on long runs, things like that. We brought in a more minimal approach to the collar top line with this binded edge compared to the traditional stitch and trim we've had on the Kiger 5 and 6. Just have a little bit more of that sleek look, that more one-to-one fit close to the foot instead of having a puffy collar, but still have, I don't know if you can see this at all, but like that raised foam kind of pill around the edge of the heel.
Oh yeah,
so
I see, yeah.
Still gets a good comfortable fit around your heel and keeps your heel in place, but in a more minimal aesthetic and more slim appearance. Yeah, and then new pull tab in the back, something to hang your shoes on. Also can help you get the shoe on if you need it. Just a nice little technical detail, kind of mimicking some of the outdoor industry like jackets, bags, things of that nature, tents. So I want to bring some of that flavor in there. Yeah.
I never even thought about hanging my shoes with that before, but
yeah, just throw them in or something.
Right.
Yeah, and then lastly, like we have this kind of paint stripe down the tongue of both the Wildhorse and the Kiger. That's kind of a nod to trailblazing, like marking trees on a trail, especially for like a impromptu race, just marking a race course, like by marking on trees, that kind of aesthetic, and just that out in nature kind of wild, like finding your way. So I think that's basically everything, unless you have any more questions about Kiger 7.
No, you explained it fairly well. It's hard to get any questions. You got everything, every detail down.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. And the Wildhorse 7, this is a less of an update. Basically just a new upper. So we have the same midsole outsole as the Wildhorse 6, which came out in 2020. So just a brief kind of refresher on the Wildhorse 6 midsole outsole that's carried over on 7 here. We have an all rubber outsole, so no brakes, but we have 3 different compounds. We have a sticky rubber in the midfoot for wet traction on like roots and rocks, in areas that get a little less abrasion, so we can get a little bit more of that sticky, wet traction there. Higher abrasion in the heel and kind of a medium abrasion in the forefoot, just based on wear patterns and kind of that spectrum of stickiness versus hardness that kind of like dictates durability versus good conditions and what's good performance in wet conditions. So good all over traction, a lot of protection, pretty durable because there's so much rubber. The lugs are pretty substantial and well spaced, so you get good penetration in that muddier, soft surfaces, while also enough spacing so it doesn't clog up. And then the midsole all react from forefoot to heel, except for we have this kind of horseshoe ring, has this wrap up in the heel. In the bottom view, it kind of goes just along the border. There's react underneath. So that's a little bit firmer foam just to give you a little bit more heel support and lockdown. As you get you like more of that kind of bucket seat feeling as like a sports car, like you're more integrated into the heel instead of just being on top of it. So as you get on uneven surfaces, cambers, like you're going to be as your foot goes, so does the tooling and vice versa. Just a little bit more integration into this shoe for those more off-road conditions. Mm-hmm. And then in the upper, it's still largely the same formula. It's a pretty open sandwich mesh that's meant to be very durable. It's also breathable and drainable. But similar to what we approached on the Kiger, we wanted to extend that further back instead of having a break to another material here. We extended that mesh further back just to get more of that same breathability, drainability throughout the whole lateral side. And then on the medial side, again, have a more durable woven material on the medial foxing, just for a little bit more support and also for like kicking yourself with the other foot, running into more abrasive surfaces there. One of the big updates.
I'm glad I'm not the only person that kicks there inside the shoes.
Everyone does that, yeah. And I think one of the big sols we had coming out of the 6, some of the feedback was like some of the midfoot fit wasn't ideal. So we kind of transferred over what worked really well with the Kiger, with these 3 gilly lacing loops through the midfoot that go into a dynamic fit band across the midfoot. So we kind of took that over from the Kiger, put it here as well to get a little bit more of that midfoot lockdown that'll hold your foot in place as you're going downhill, uphill, so you don't jam your toes or like get too many blisters by sliding back and forth in the shoe. So I think that improved the overall heel fit, and then integrated a pull tab, kept over this cuff that worked really well in the Kiger, or not the Kiger, the Wildhorse 6, which is kind of a new thing there to keep debris out and just keep like a nice snug fit around your ankle without being too constrictive. Just to like make you feel more like integrated into the shoe, more connected. And then on this one, on the Wildhorse 7, added a pull tab that's more attached to it. So like as you pull on this, it pulls the cuff just so it's a little bit easier to get your foot in without this folding over and getting all wrinkly. So yeah, and overall, just try to like slice out a little bit of weight. I think we maybe took off like 0.1 ounces, but most of the weight's always going to be in the midsole and outsole anyways. So
yeah, it looks like you sturdied up the shoe to make it better for more technical trails and longer runs.
Yeah. But I forgot to say, like, that's Wildhorse is meant to be like our workhorse, like our kind of like the tank in our in our lineup. Would be like you can go for all day and like not worry about it breaking down or like bothering you. Like it's both protective, well cushioned, and durable, both for a long run and then for many runs. So this is probably going to get the most miles out of any of the shoes in our lineup.
Well, great. Thanks for giving us the details on those shoes. Anything else new coming up with Nike trail running?
I've got the Peg Trail 3 coming out in about a month, I believe. Yeah, so that'll be just a new upper update as well. So there won't be like a big change from the Pegasus Trail 2, but a little bit focusing on like solving some of the fit issues, maybe some runner's experience in the upper. So try like new upper, a little bit new approach there. But for the most part, it's going to have the same fit and feel as the Peg Trail 2, which was very successful. So should be a good one.
Well, great. I can't wait to hear about that one then, Matt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining us and hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for the time.
Okay.
See you, Shane.
Well, that's it. You can get these shoes at Roadrunner Sports. They are an affiliate brand of Northwest Dirt Turners. So each time you click on their link from our site, and buy something of any of our affiliated brands, we get a small commission, which helps fund this website and also the newsletter. So any help would be appreciated. Thanks again. We'll keep the link at the bottom of the page and also on the website. Until then, see you soon.